Hey everyone, today I'm going to talk about The Moviegoer by Walker Percy. Here's the one I picked up at Barnes & Noble several months ago before I read it. It's an FSG Classics. I really like the cover art. I just wanted to get that out of the way real quick. This actually does a really good job of capturing or giving a little tease for what the book is really about, which is uncommon for most modern editions of good classic books. You don't usually get that. You kind of get something a little cheaper than that, but they did a really good job. I really like that. I was gonna get it anyways. I wanted to read it, but I thought I'd mention that. Really great ideas for whoever did that. 2 thumbs up to you, whoever came up with that at the FSG Classics publishing company. Anyways, but it's a really great Southern Gothic novel. It goes over some of the themes of postmodernism. I've kind of talked about that in the past. It's not a postmodern book, I wouldn't imagine. But it goes through the themes of what life is like in that sort of, emptiness of a world that kind of loses meanings here and there. And I think it gets that not because of the intentions of the author. Like, he didn't intend, obviously, to comment on the postmodern world, but he actually probably got that because Soren Kierkegaard was a influence for Walker Percy. If you didn't know that, that's one key element to his writing, is he's very influenced by Christian existentialism in spite of being a Catholic, I think. Great writer. He's from Louisiana. I love Louisiana. He's writes a lot in this book especially, but I think in other books too. He talks about New Orleans. Love New Orleans. Just great atmosphere, great people. Shout out to New Orleans. Anyways, but he talks a lot about Soren Kierkegaard, or he comments on him a lot. I know in his more philosophical work, because he does have a couple. Walker Percy did before he died. He had a couple philosophical works and many essays. But the theme of this book is really summed up in the quote that he takes from the Cygnus unto death. And of course, the Cygnus unto death, if you don't know what that is, it's a pretty central. It's pretty central to Kierkegaard's work. I would definitely recommend reading it if you're into philosophy and you already kind of are used to a little bit of philosophical jargon, because of course, that book, Kierkegaard being who he is, it's a sardonic book. It's mocking Hegel. I have no problem with Hegel. I think Kierkegaard wouldn't have either if he was a little more ingenuous towards him. But of course, it was Kierkegaard's reaction to kind of the, kind of the very, very kind of menial, silly talk that was happening. Not in philosophy, but in the church, because his main concern, of course, was the church. As a Christian, his existentialism was just kind of an accident that happened for Kierkegaard. But in any case, the quote itself is, "The specific character of despair is precisely this: it is unaware of being despair." And if you read The Moviegoer, what you're going to notice is that the main character maybe knows something is up. Something's wrong. I'm looking for something. That's kind of the sort of gist of what the main character wants, is just some sort of abstract something, but he's not sure what it is. And throughout the book, he kind of makes a lot of purposeful and not so purposeful mistakes. He has sort of a selfish escapade with a very close family friend who's a girl who's his age, who everybody thought he was going to marry, but he does her kind of wrong in the end. And it's kind of sad, but it doesn't end on a despairing note. I will say it kind of ends on a sweet note where you kind of realize that, like, he's starting to get it. He's starting to realize that there is something more to his life than just searching out for his own meaning. And you catch a glimpse of that as the book wraps into a close. I don't know if the book would have how the book would have left me if it didn't have like this little epilogue, or whatever you call it, like not an afterword. Where is it? Give me 2 seconds. Epilogue. It has an epilogue. I knew it did. That goes over kind of how he feels after the selfishness passes and he kind of ends his silly existential search. It leaves you feeling like, okay, he's got something going for him now. He realizes where he's messed up and he's going to move forward with his life in a better way. But yeah, you couldn't have asked for a better ending, I think, to something like this. And it really, I think the main takeaway, as a Southern Gothic novel, as a sort of critique of the postmodernism that was happening around Walker Percy at the time, towards his early 40s. You know, he was actually pretty later on in life when he got this published. It was a really great commentary at the time, and it continues to be, because of course, another major theme that I haven't talked about yet. You know, it's called The Moviegoer. Of course, most of the book, the character tries to find himself in films, in going to the movies, in identifying with these actors, you know, whether on accident or on purpose. He just finds reality to be more real to him as he delves into that. And that's a perfect metaphor for all the themes of postmodernism that come up later with Baudrillard's work about, you know, whatever the Matrix was based off. I can't remember the fancy word, but Baudrillard's philosophy, the philosophy of, or the critique of postmodernism itself, I think, is captured already in this. Eventually, I'm going to go into some of C.S. Lewis's early work to show you where he also did that. You know, just for some reason, Christians tend to do things 30 or 40 years before everybody else catches up on it. I think that's always cool, especially in literature. When I find it in literature, you know, I just have to talk about it on here. But really great book, really worth going into if you want to explore some philosophical themes in a format that makes it much more digestible and much more interesting. Because I know philosophy for me was great. I loved reading philosophy when I did, but literature is much easier for me. So if you want to get into this book, go to your Barnes & Noble, get this version, because I really like the cover art. They did a great job. But definitely get your hands on this. Great book by a really great Christian author. Has a lot of little quirks about it because it is Southern. It is from Louisiana. It is a Southern Gothic. I will always call this a Southern Gothic. But yeah, just a wonderful, lovable book, I think, you know. So, you know, definitely look into this. And you guys have a great rest of y'all's day.